guys, welcome to my channel once again. My name is Bolaji. Okay, and I love to create content related to God, lifestyle, gratitude, and every other thing that tickles my fancy. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much. It's good to have you here. Please, if you enjoyed the video, do well to subscribe at the end. And returning subscribers, yeah, thank you so much for coming once again. Yeah, very grateful. Okay, so in this video I'll be talking about dependent visa for tier 2 and tier 4 and how to go about it. I've heard people say things like you want to disvirgin your passport, more like you want to have a stamp on your passport before you can apply on tier 2 or tier 4 to the UK, so that would increase your chances. And you find people going to all manner of places just so that they can have a stamp in their passport, so disvirgin their passport. It's the wrong English anyway, but I'm sure you get what I mean. Or more like to deflower their passport. Or I mean, it's absolutely not necessary for you to be on a tier 2 or tier 4 or planning to come in through a tier 2. Tier 2 is more like the work routes, which also encompasses the health and care visa, and tier 4 is the student route. If you are coming, I don't know what the other routes are like, whether you really do have to disvirgin your passport or not, but for those two routes, which happens to be the most common these days for people in my age group or people around me, you really do not have to disvirgin your, why do I keep saying disvirgin? You really don't have to have a stamp to you have been to another country before you can apply to the UK. For those two categories of visa, it's most times a straightforward application. I don't know if you get what I mean. More like for the tier 2, you have a COS, a certificate of sponsorship. I've talked about that in a previous video. I'll put the link in my description and somewhere up here. More like for tier 2, you have a certificate of sponsorship where your employer certifies that they would sponsor you, and with that certificate of sponsorship, most times you will not be denied, as long as all the other documents you have provided are also legit and authentic, of which in most situations they are. And then for tier 4, on the other hand, is the student visa. More like you've got an admission into a school and then you're coming to study. They would usually give you a CAS. What's the meaning of CAS now? I can't even remember. But I'll put the full meaning here. It's like an equivalent of, it does what the COS does as well. More like the school says, I think, certificate of acceptance of study, I think that's it. So more like the school says that you are coming to study, and then they give you something to certify that it is that you will take alongside other requirements for your visa application or your biometrics. And most times it comes out like you get your visa for study in the UK, as well as for tier 2 visa or the health and care visa. So I just want to debunk the idea that you're coming on either of these you're coming through either of these two routes and then you want to disvirgin your passport. Please, you don't have to. It's not necessary at all. If you have the money, you want to just go on holiday, and yeah, it's fine. But if it is just solely for the purpose of your passport is brand new, you haven't been anywhere, and then you think that, oh, let me just increase my chances of me being accepted or me getting this visa, granted this visa, then let me do this, then it's not worth it, because you can as well save the money and use it for something else entirely. So that being said, I would move into the purpose of today's video, which is to discuss and just let us know what it's like to apply a dependent visa. So yes, you have arrived in here as a student, as a nurse, and you reside in the UK already. Your visa allows you, as a student, if it's BSc, your visa may not allow you to come with your family, but if it's from masters and above, your visa allows you to come in with your immediate family. So I'll discuss that of a dependence on health and care visa first, because that is the one I'm well aware of. And then we'll move on to the other one, which is pretty similar with just a couple of differences. So the first one, for the health and care visa, so yes, you've arrived in here as a nurse, but your husband, your children are still back in Nigeria. You all wanted to come at once, but the funds and the finances did not let you all come at once. And then you were like, oh, let me even just come and focus and pass my OSCE first, and then they can come after. Whatever the reasons are, yes, you are at a point where you need to make the application for your family as well. Your visa allows you to come in with your dependents. Your dependents are your immediate family, and that's your spouse and your children, up to 4 children. It doesn't cover for parents and all, but there are some situations where people still, probably if you can prove that it doesn't cover for parents. So now that you're ready to apply, what do you need? I'll assume that you have your passport already. So the passport is all sorted. The next thing you need to do is to book the TB tests. I'm sure for you to be here now and be thinking of how to go about it for your dependents, you must have also done your TB test at some point. So you book that at IOM for your husband or for your children. You can confirm on IOM website how much it costs now, and I know the price differs for husband or for adults and for children, so just confirm what the prices are. So after you've ticked your TB test off the list, the next thing you want to do is to get a police report, police certificates. You did that also, you know how you went about it. So you get that for your husband or your partner, and then you get that for your child or children as well. And yes, on the TB certificate, I would advise that you book as soon as possible, as soon as you're able to, because these days it's getting challenging for people to get dates, how do I say it now, available dates to go for the TB test. So more like in those days, you might be traveling next month, you will still find a date for this month, but these days it would interest you to know that they are fully booked up until December, January at this time already. So it's something that you need to get out of the way as soon as you're able to. And bear in mind that your TB certificate is valid for 6 months. And what's the idea behind the TB certificate? You would notice that people coming on visit visa don't need it. If you are spending more than 6 months in the UK, or it is expected that you might be spending more than 6 months, and you're coming from a country where tuberculosis is endemic, then you would have to do a TB test. Visit visa for 6 months, or it's not expected that you should spend more than 6 months, you really don't have to do a TB test. So that being said, so yes, after you've gotten your TB test and your police report out of the way, the next thing you need to do is to apply for the visa, do the visa application. I'll put the link in my description for the child and then for the partner. There are 2 different links, even though they are pretty similar. Yeah, so after you've completed the form, you've completed everything, it's going to take you to the biometrics page, which is usually in partner with TLS Contacts. I'm sure you know what TLS Contacts is. I'm making this video bearing in mind that you have also had your application done, so you know what these things are. So you have your TLS Contacts. Okay, so when you go into the TLS Contact, that's the website, that's where you get to book the biometrics, and you find a date for the biometrics. There are 2 centers in Lagos, and I think there is one in Abuja. Am I right? Yes, that's it. So you book it, whichever works for you. And I know VI is not totally free. Ikeja is free to some extent, and it just depends on how much time you have, the urgency and the convenience as well. So just weigh your options, and bear in mind that once you select a center at the point of going to the TLS website, that is the center you have to use. You won't be able to swap to another center. So maybe I should just talk about, say this here. So for VI, if you are booking at VI, Victoria Island, I don't know what Abuja is like, but if you are booking with Victoria Island, you're expected to pay some money. What is it called now? Like a charge. Think about £55 or thereabouts. Yeah, just because you are using it. This one is different from the assisted services. But Ikeja is free, more like you don't have to pay that amount. It used to be £55. I don't know how much it is now. But Ikeja is free. But most times Ikeja is always fully booked. More like because it is free, you don't have to pay extra money. You would find that they don't have available dates, nearby available dates, something like that. But for VI, if you get to pay the £55, you can get closer dates. So that's one thing you want to bear in mind. And also you can also pay for extra services like premium lounge, or there are a couple of assisted services on there. Yeah, when you pay for those, when you pay, for example, premium lounge, or is it prime time? Yeah, prime time. Also, if you, for instance, pay those, for those, it gives you an opportunity to have some nearer dates available as well. So it just depends on you, and it depends on how much you want and the urgency and all. But that's just it. So let's say yes, you've eventually picked the center, and then you've booked your biometrics. On the day of the biometrics, what happens? Yeah, there'll be a list of documents that you would generate after your visa application, before you get redirected to the TLS website. So the UK Visas and Immigration, they would give you a list of documents that you would bring, the compulsory ones. If it is for a partner like your husband, it's compulsory that you have your his passport or a passport. It's also compulsory that you have your marriage certificate. And then if it's from a country where there is TB something, it's important that you have that TB certificate as well. And it is also important that you have your spouse's evidence of being in the UK, more like your BRP. That's just the simple long and short. That is for the requirements for husband. Requirements for children, or for your child or children, would be you should have, of course, his passport, the TB certificate. Then you should also have your his or her birth certificate as well. Those are the compulsory things. Those are the compulsory things that you have to provide. However, there are other documents that are not mandatory but may be necessary for you to provide as well. I have a list on here. I just don't want to miss anything out. You have your marriage certificate in case of your partner. The other thing is your COS, certificate of sponsorship, which I mentioned earlier. The certificate of sponsorship is important to support your spouse's application or your family's application. And then this certificate of sponsorship, it doesn't matter that I arrived in the UK 1 year ago. My COS was valid only for 3 months and it has expired. Can I still use it? Yes, you can still use the certificate of sponsorship. It doesn't matter whether it has expired for you or not. They still need it for their application, irrespective of the validity. Then another thing that you need to provide is evidence of accommodation. It is not compulsory. Some people do, some people don't, and for that you could just provide a proof of address. It could be a water bill, it could be a council tax bill, it could be your bank statement, more like to say you are living in that house. And yes, some people would also say, I live in a shared house, is it okay for me to use that, or I have to move into another house? Like I said, UKVI did not tell you to bring it. They are just hearsays and what people have say, okay, it is good that you do this so that nothing impedes the application. More like you won't say it's because you do not put evidence of accommodation that you did not get it, so put it. And I know of someone that she was still living in a shared house at the time when her spouse came to meet her or arrived here. So there wasn't really anything, so you really don't have to move into a mansion before they arrive. So you have your police report already, your TB certificate as well. then the passport page for the applicant. If your in your COS, if there is this part of the COS where you have maintenance, is it ticked yes or no? If on your COS it was ticked yes, then you have to provide a maintenance letter from your employer. You'd ask your employer to provide you, tell your employer you would like to bring in your spouse and your family, and then they know what to do. So they'll just provide like a letter just to say that they would be responsible for you, blah 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 blah, and all of that for a certain period of time, and then you earn this amount of money, you work as this from so time, and just like a backing letter, something like that. Then let's say now your employer hasn't ticked yes for maintenance, it is no that was ticked. It is not the end of the world. What it simply means is that the UKVI expects you to provide, to have a certain amount of money in your account for, okay, let me explain again, it's already hiding me. It means that a certain amount of money must have been in your account for 28 days prior to the time of your application. So let's say I want to make my application, oh, not prior to the time of your application, prior to the time you are printing your statements, the statements you would use to make the application for the visa. Does it make any sense? So it means that you must have had, oh Jesus, you must have had a certain amount of money in your account for 28 days prior to the time you print out your statement. So for instance, I'm printing my statement out today, which means that the money must have been in my account in the last 28 days. My application is probably tomorrow or next week or next month, but today that I'm printing out that statement too, that money must have been in my account. Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So how much is this money? If it is for your partner, if it is for your partner, you're expected to have £285 sitting in your account for 28 days. If it is for your partner and a child, the partner is 285, the first child is £315. If it is more than one child, then every additional child is £200, £200. So let's say you've got 3 children, and your husband, that's 4 people. So your husband or your wife is 285, the first child is 315, and then the next child is £200, and the next child is £200. In total, that is 200, 400, 715, and 285. That's about £1,000 roughly. You should have about £1,000 in your account sitting, not touching it, in the past 28 days. Yeah, so that's it. For the children, however, in addition to the things that I've mentioned earlier, one other thing that is important for the application of the child is there has to be a consent letter from both parents. More like the two of you are writing a letter, the father and the mother of the child, you write a letter to say that you are happy for the child to come, something like that, and then you both sign it. It's a very important letter to write. It's to give that, because the child is an under 18 and the two of you are responsible for this child. So it's like your consent of both partners for the child to be moved. Not doing that could actually lead to a couple of legal issues and all, but I don't know what all of that entails. You can read more on gov.uk to have more information about that. Other documents you might think you want to attach, well, maybe your for people that are married, marriage certificate just covers it. But if the married person or the married spouse coming is probably the name differs, or you might want to attach a change of name, but all of those ones are additional things. You do not need to have an IELTS result to apply for your dependents or your child or your husband. You don't need to. You don't have to. What else? Is there any other thing? Yeah, so after you have all these documents ready, the TLS would usually provide a website where you can upload these documents. You upload the scanned documents, and then on the day of the interview, on the day of the appointment, you really don't have to go with those documents, because when you get on there, what you are really going on to do there is your biometrics. Not like you're answering any question or anybody's asking you to show anything at all or anything. But yes, you could also decide that you want to pay for assisted service. The assisted service is such that you would go with the originals of all those documents, and then you would be assisted over there to scan them and upload them, which is not very necessary in my opinion. It's just like you're just dashing somebody money because you can upload it by yourself. You get what I mean? So yeah, that's it. Then after you've done that, what else? Yeah, you've done your biometrics, you leave their place, the passport is with them. If you want to keep your passports as well, there is a provision, an assisted or like a provision on TLS where you can keep your passport. Say you probably want to use your passport for something and it might not be with you at that time. There are just a couple of extra services you can pay for there, but just be careful when you're paying for those services. From experience, before you go and pay for another thing. I had to pay for another thing during my own time. That experience is evergreen in my memory. Okay, so yes, you get to do all of that. So how long does it take for you to get your response? Usually it's not very long for dependents visa, because I mean the bulk of it is on the main applicant. So for dependents, it's usually most times straightforward, except when there is a queue, more like probably when students are resuming a September period, January period, or during summer. Those times are usually peak periods, so you might have GKVI getting to handle a lot of applications. But usually it doesn't take long. I think in about 25 working days, if you've paid for standard, you should get your response back. And many times it's not even up to that. Like in 2 weeks or in a week, you get your passports back, or you get your response back. You could pay for priority service if you want. If you think it's urgent that your spouse or your family needs to come in time, that one is about 10 working days. So that's also there. You could do super priority, but it's up to you. And after you get your passport back, well, to get your passport back, you could go on to pick it there at TLS office, or you could also pay for the courier to bring it down to your location. So bear in mind that if you're paying for courier, it may not come to you the day you receive your email that it is ready, because courier people will do their own, they will take their own time. So it might take like another 3 or 4 days depending on where you are, especially if you are not residing within Lagos. So that's another thing to bear in mind. But yes, after you get your passport back and you've confirmed that the visa is there, the visa these days, or the signet these days, usually vignet usually is valid for 3 months. So you just anytime within the 3 months, you can book your flight ticket or book their flight tickets, or they book their flight tickets, either way, to come over. And yeah, that being said, all done. They arrive, you pick them from the airport, book a transport to pick them, go by train, go by anyhow. Yeah, also bear in mind, put COVID also. You have to do COVID. No, I think it has been reviewed now. It keeps being reviewed anyway. So also bear in mind what the requirements COVID wise is like for the country you're living and the country you're coming into. And yes, that is it. Enjoy your reunion. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what the process for dependent visa on the health and care visa is like. However, for student visa on the other hand, it's pretty similar, just that for the COS, for health and care visa or tier 2 visa, sometimes they take yes, and then the yes is like covers for your dependents. But in the case of your CAS, your CAS, it covers just for you, just for the main applicant, just for the students. Nothing concerning university, concerning your dependents or anything. So what you literally have to do, the extra things you have to do would be to show proof of funds for your dependents. for your children, your spouse that would be coming along with you. So as long as you can have the money for the proof of funds in your accounts for your dependents, then they are good to go. Just follow every other process. That's why I said they are pretty similar, but just with a couple of differences. That's the difference I am going to be highlighting in this video. If you found this video helpful, please do well to like, do well to share, do well to comment, and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Yes, so you see me again in my next video. I remain your darling BJ. Remain in God, and God bless you. Bye.